Have the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, joining us on the news for more on President Buhari's anti-graft war. Many thanks for your time. Now, let's begin with your assessment of the anti-corruption war so far. Nigeria now ranks 148 out of 178 countries. Are we winning this war?
Thank you very much. We're clearly winning the war. The ranking, I don't think it's a correct reflection of the success we've made in the war against corruption. It's quite natural that given the seeming delay in prosecution and conviction of politically exposed people, that we might not be able to move as fast on the ranking line. But what we must focus on are the institutional reforms this government has put in place to fight corruption. Fighting corruption is not just about prosecuting and jailing politically exposed people. It has more to do with institutional framework. And I think it is in this context that the government should be judged. And I want to say with all sense of, pride, that this government, more than any other government, has very faithfully put in place institutional reforms that will make looting of our resources much more difficult. The first is the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, which is a roadmap on how to fight corruption. The second is the whistleblower policy, which has fetched the government humongous amount of money in terms of recovery. The third is the TSA, which is the single treasury account. Under the single treasury account, every revenue and receipt of government is paid into one single account. This is in contrast to what we met, where there were about 22,000 various accounts of government in various banks in the country. Today, under the TSA, the government knows exactly how much it has in the kitty, and it also monitors how it is spent. The third is the efficiency unit, which has been put in place in the Ministry of Finance. The efficiency in the Ministry of Finance makes it possible for government to cut down on wastage and leakages. And it is the credit of this administration that under the efficiency unit of the Federal Ministry of Finance, over 17 billion naira has been saved from travel allowances, gifts, etc. Another thing this government put in place is the what we call the non-conviction basis recovery system, whereby we recover looted funds. And today, the EFCC has recovered about 794 billion naira, about $261 million, about 8 million euro, and over 1 million pounds in recoveries.
Okay, Mr.
Another institutional reform, which is worth mentioning, is what we call the continuous presidential initiative on continuous auditing. Again, this has led to blocking leakages, and it's helped in monitoring the way funds belonging to government are spent. And I can just give you a few examples.
Absolutely.
Between 2010 and 2015, JAMB was able to remit to the federal government, purse a mega 51 million naira. But in 2017 alone, JAMB made over 7.8 billion naira and paid directly into the account. So when we say that the war against corruption is working, these are the indices we are using.
Absolutely impressive indices there. But I'll take you on the comments by many Nigerians, especially the PDP, that this war against corruption is really selective. They say some have tactically been omitted from this war against corruption, and many more have literally have their sins swept away in this fight against corruption. What would you say?
I think it's absolutely false. This is a well-worn argument, and it's not working, and it's not devoid of any fact. The truth of the matter is that it's an attempt to whittle down the fight against corruption and also to politicize the fight against corruption. There's a proverb in Yoruba that a man who has no wife can never lose his in-law. Now, what the fact of the matter is that for 16 years, the PDP presided over the affairs of this country at a time when revenue from oil was as high as $143 a barrel. Now, if we are now waging war against corruption, it's only natural that the majority of the people who have cases to answer will be those who have presided over the affairs of the government for 16 years. And frankly speaking, the argument that if you join APC, then your sins are forgiven, has no basis. Recently, some governors have been convicted. One of them, unfortunately, was in APC also. So the truth of the matter is that our fight against corruption has no political coloration. If you have not looted the treasury, you have nothing to fear. Only the guilty are afraid.
Mr. Lai Mohammed, earlier you mentioned about the government's policies. Do you think they aid or deter corruption vis-a-vis a minimum wage that seems inadequate for many Nigerians?
Well, you see, the argument that the minimum wage or what is being earned by a worker has any correlation to whether a worker is going to be corrupt or not is too simplistic. I think a few months ago, 2 workers at the Lagos airport returned a bag of valuables left behind by an American returnee. If we are to judge by how much these people earn, then they will not return that bag of valuable. Now, I think the truth of the matter is that when we accept that a laborer, a worker must be worth his labor and his sweat, and the federal government is doing everything possible to improve the welfare of workers. Within our available resources, we will ensure that workers are well paid.
Workers are well paid, but that's been the fight for 30,000 naira minimum wage. Away from that, what would you say is the relationship between Nigeria and foreign countries in this fight against corruption? Have they been cooperative? We earlier had the EFCC chairman saying there's been difficulty, especially with extraditing Desiani Alison Madueke. How has the relationship been with the international community?
I think we're managing in this relationship. Sometimes it's quite testy and trying, but overall, I think the government is managing the relationship. Clearly, it's not easy for a government that is using your funds to willingly at times return it. But I think overall, we are managing the relationship.
Okay, and then also, when do you think we might expect to see another list, a comprehensive list of those who, according to the government, have looted the treasury?
Well, given the recent victories the federal government has won in the law courts, especially those who took me to court for labeling them as looters, I think the road is now clear for the government to release another list of those who have looted our resources.
Okay, I appreciate your time on the broadcast, Minister of Communication, Lai Mohammed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.